Welcome to Plus 2 Political Science class. Today I am going to start lesson 6. It is of first term. The lesson name is the Legislature. It is topic of day 1. The topic name is the Legislature, meaning, functions and the role. The objectives of the lesson are divided into 10 days. It begins from page 186 and it ends on page 249. As I will be discussing according to the days, I will be telling you according to the days and pages. Today I am going to start day 1 topic, and the objectives of the day 1 are government and its 3 organs and introduction, the legislature, its meaning, the main functions and the role of the legislature. Under this topic, there are 9 functions of the legislature. As you know, the legislature performs multiple functions. It's not only law-making functions, it performs various other functions. The main function it performs is the law-making functions. The second is deliberative functions of the legislature. Third is custodian of national finances. Fourth is control over the executive. Fifth is constitutional functions. Sixth is electoral functions. Seventh, judicial functions. Eighth, ventilation of grievances. And ninth is miscellaneous functions. So these are the main functions and role of the legislature. Is it clear? Now, before the discussion of these objectives of day 1, I would like to discuss the key terms with you. The first key term is question hour. The question hour is the first hour of the sitting session of India's Lok Sabha devoted to questions that members of parliament raise about any aspect of administrative activity or public interest matter. Students, if you remember, in class 10th, you have done the topic the legislature. A little bit you must remember about this. We have done question hour also. In this, you have done every year there are 3 sessions of the Union Parliament, and during the session, first hour of the day is kept for the question hour. During this period, the opposition members ask the question to the members of the ruling party, especially to the Council of Ministers, and the questions are specially asked to the concerned department ruling minister, and they are to reply to those questions. For example, during the budget session of Parliament 2021, like this year only in the budget session, farm bills were the public interest matter. Yes, you know, this year it is the main public interest matter which the question related to this matter were asked in the budget session. Okay. The next key term is financial year. In India, for business and tax purposes, the financial year is the year in which you have earned the income. For example, it starts from 1st April of calendar year and ends on 31st March of the next calendar year. Students, normally the year begins on 1st January and ends on 31st December. But I am not talking about that year. I am talking about financial year. In business, this year is counted. You must have heard about this from your parents or from your relatives or some neighbors or any person dealing in business. They talk about this year in their business that they are to give that income tax or something like this. So this is a financial year. They count it from 1st April and ends it on 31st March. And this last year, some relaxation was given due to COVID-19. Last year, the income tax returns were filled up to 31st December instead of 31st March. And this year also, instead of 31st March 2021, the time is extended up to 31st May. This is just relaxation, but financial year timings are not changed. The timings are till 31st March. Relaxation is only for payment of tax. Next is impeachment. Impeachment is the act or process of impeaching a public official in the parliament by accusing them of misconduct committed while in office. For example, removal of judges of Supreme Court, High Court, President and Vice President of India by Parliament. But till today, no one has been impeached in India. Students, this is a process which goes in the Indian Parliament. Here in Parliament, the process goes on and Parliament acts as a court where the proceedings goes against the judges of Supreme Court, High Court, President and Vice President. They are removed. If they are to be removed for any misconduct or any other thing which they have done against the constitution, then the proceedings will not go in the court. The proceedings will go in the parliament. The process is known as the impeachment. Next is authoritarian, means favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority at the expense of personal freedom. So, authoritarianism is characterized by highly concentrated and centralized government power maintained by political repression. For example, North Korea. Students, here I am telling you that there is a strict obedience to authority at the expense of personal freedom. Means the citizens don't have personal freedom. Like in India, we have fundamental rights. We have right to freedom, under which we enjoy many freedoms. But in North Korea, the people don't enjoy personal freedom and there is a strict obedience to authority. It's a sort of dictatorship. Next is collective responsibility. Like I will clear you through an example. For example, school teachers learn and work together systematically on a regular basis to ensure higher quality and better results for all students. So here you see teachers are working collectively because they are collectively responsible for the school result. They are not responsible for any one child's result. Yes, they are collectively responsible for the school result. So this is collective responsibility. Same way, cabinet collective responsibility in parliamentary systems mean that members of the cabinet must publicly support all government decisions made in cabinet, even if they do not privately agree with them. They swim and sink together. Yes, here I must tell you, you see, publicly they are to support all governmental decisions in the cabinet. They may disagree privately. They may propose the changes in the decisions made. But once the decision is done, that's done. And publicly they are to support the governmental decisions. This is called collective responsibility. That's why it is called they all swim and sink together. So once the vote of no confidence is passed against one minister, they all sink together. Next is individual responsibility. The word itself makes us clear something, that is individual. Yes, each minister is responsible to the president or prime minister. President means openly and prime minister means indirectly for the department under his charge. Members of the parliament, that is opposition party members, are entitled to question the ministers during question hour, and the ministers are responsible for action or negligence of their respective department. This proves that government is weak or strong. Yes, I already told you during the question hour, the members of parliament asks the questions to the ministers of the ruling party, and the ministers of the ruling party are to reply to the opposition party members about their department. If any minister is unable to reply it properly, this shows the weakness of the government. Here, that minister is individually responsible for the running of his department. This is individual responsibility, and ultimately it becomes a collective responsibility. And if that minister is not responsible for his department, then the full government sink. Okay, this proves the government is weak. Next is electoral college. Students, this is not any college where the students go and study. This is a college where the members elect the president and the vice president of India. Yes, here I am talking about the president of India. The president of India is elected by the members of an electoral college consisting of, now here I will tell you, electoral college consists of the elected members of both the houses of parliament, which are the both houses, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Here you must see the word is elected members. Nominated members will not elect the president. You know, 2 Anglo-Indians are nominated for Lok Sabha and 12 members are nominated in Rajya Sabha. They will not participate in the elections of president. And secondly, the elected members of the legislative assemblies of the states. Yes, and here including the National Capital Territory of Delhi and the Union Territory of Pondicherry. They are also included. They are not states. You know why are they included? As they also have legislative assemblies and chief ministers. In these 2 union territories also, the elections are held. They also have legislative assemblies and chief ministers. So they are also part of electoral college. Now, I will give you an example. You will be more clear. You know, who are the members of electoral college from Amritsar? The electoral college member in Lok Sabha from Amritsar is the member of parliament, Mr. Gurjeet Singh Aujla. I think so. You know who is the member of parliament from Amritsar. He is Mr. Gurjeet Singh Aujla, and he is member of electoral college. And electoral college members in the state legislature are the members of legislative assembly, and they are Mr. Rajkumar Verka, Mr. Sunil Datti, Mr. Om Prakash Soni, and Mr. Navjot Singh Sidhu. Yes, Amritsar is divided into 4 zones: east, west, north, south, and these are the 4 members. They are the part of electoral college. Yes, total 5 members are there in the electoral college to elect the president of India. Now, I am going to start the topic, that is the legislature, meaning, functions and the role. Students, you see in the picture, this is a building of the parliament in New Delhi. Now, the legislature, meaning and functions. The government is the agency which exercises the power of the state over all its people and areas. The government expresses and enforces the will of the state through its 3 basic organs. You know which are the 3 organs? The legislature, the executive, and judiciary. These organs make laws, implement laws, and protect the laws. So, the government came to be characterized by a division into legislature, executive, and judiciary, and it continues to be till today everywhere. You know, everywhere means everywhere, in every country of the world. All the countries of the world have the government, and all the government have the 3 organs: legislature, executive, and judiciary. Legislature function is to make the laws, executive function is to implement the laws, and judiciary function is to protect the laws. Now I will tell the legislature meaning and function. I will start it with an example. At the union level in India, all the laws are made by union legislature. And you know what is the name of the union legislature? That is parliament. This lawmaking body is called the legislature. All the laws are implemented by the Union Council of Ministers. Each minister works for his concerned department. I will give you an example. The railway minister works for the railway department. This body of council of ministers is called the executive body. All the laws are protected by the Supreme Court and High Courts. They check the validity of the laws passed by the legislature. This body is called the judiciary. Students, here I would like to tell you that Supreme Court can check the validity of laws passed by the Union Parliament as well as the laws passed by the state legislature. Means any state legislature, if passes any law, its validity can be checked by the Supreme Court and the concerned High Court. So both can check the validity. But High Court can check the validity of the concerned legislature only. Like Punjab and Haryana High Court can check only the validity of Punjab Assembly and Haryana Assembly. It cannot check the legislature validity of any assembly. Okay. So this is the function of the judiciary. Out of the three organs of the government, the primary place belongs to the legislature. The functions of the government begins by lawmaking, which is followed by the law enforcement and adjudication functions. Yes, you must have understood by now that the primary function is of legislature because the first step is lawmaking, then only implementation, and then only protection of the law is there. Otherwise, second and third step will not function if a first step is not done. So, primary function is of the legislature. Now, I will discuss what is the meaning of legislature. With an example, I will discuss. Other word used for democratic legislature is parliament, which is derived from the French word parler, which means to talk or to discuss. In this way, we can say parliament is a place where discussions are held for public interest. It means parliament is a place for discussion, and we know very well when any bill is to be passed. The bill is discussed very well, and there are three readings of a bill, then it is passed. So it is a place to discuss the matters of public interest. In fact, when a political system has a weak legislature or a legislature dominated by a ruling group, like North Korea, the political system is held to be an authoritarian political system. Yes, it is called authoritarian political system when there is no freedom to discussion for the discussion of anything, like in parliament. There is no freedom to discuss anything. There is only authoritarian system, means everyone is to follow the ruling group. That is authoritarian system like in North Korea. The legislature is that organ of the government which is concerned with the making of laws. It is the agency which has the responsibility to formulate the will of the state and then implement it with legal authority and force. You know, legal authority and force are required because without force, maybe in future the public will not follow the laws made by the parliament. So it is required. Okay. A modern democratic legislature has the power to make or amend the laws for the society it represents. The legislature acts as the mirror of public opinion. Mirror of public opinion means whatever public feels or thinks or wants, that is expressed through the legislature. Now, I'm going to discuss the main functions and the role of the legislature. A legislature of modern liberal democratic political system performs the given main functions. I told you in the beginning there are multiple functions of the legislature. So there are total 9 functions of the legislature. The first is lawmaking function. As we are clear from the name only, legislature, obviously the first main function is the lawmaking function. Then second is deliberative functions of the legislature. Then third is custodian of national finances. Fourth is control over the executive. Fifth is constitutional functions. Sixth is electoral functions. Seventh, judicial functions. Eighth, ventilation of grievances. And ninth is miscellaneous functions. Now, students, I am going to discuss each function in detail. Now, first is law-making functions. I will discuss it through an example. In earlier times when there were no books of law, like there were no law books, everything was verbal. That time, in earlier times, in Hinduism, there was a custom that the eldest son was considered as the head of the family after the father. He was responsible for the performance of all the social and family level responsibilities. The same custom has now become a part of Hindu law 1956, under which he is called Karta and is responsible for all family and social activities. So, this law, which is passed by Union Parliament, is based on this custom. So, students, here you see Hindu law 1956. This is passed on, this custom that after father, the eldest son is responsible to perform all the liabilities of the family. And he was known as the head of the family under custom law, and now he is titled as a Karta. Okay. Traditionally, laws were derived from the customs or religion. And in present age, the first function of the legislature is to make the laws. And we know very well today our parliament makes the laws. The authoritative rules made by the legislature bind the entire society. Yes, we know this thing. Whatever laws are passed by the legislature, they are applicable on full society. It is not for one category or one part of society. It is for the full society. All the people are bound by legislative laws, and even the government is also bound by these laws. Next function is deliberative functions of the legislature. Now, the example is in monsoon session 2020, the opposition parties raised their voice on the matter of security to be provided to the weaker sections who have become jobless and homeless due to COVID-19. It was a serious public interest matter which was discussed in question hour, and the media brought it to the public notice. As I discussed earlier also, first hour of the during the session is considered as a question hour. During this period, the public interest matters are discussed. And during the 2020 monsoon session, what matter were discussed? That is the matter related to the weaker sections who have become jobless and homeless due to the COVID-19. This was discussed. So, it is deliberative function of the legislature. The legislature makes the executive aware of the views and difficulties of the people. So, during the question hour, the legislature means opposition party here, they brought this difficulty of the public to the minister. In their notice, they brought this difficulty in the notice of the government. Okay, so every word spoken by the members of the legislature is recorded, and the whole record is taken to be a mirror of public opinion. You know, that time during the question hour, even the media is allowed in the galleries of Lok Sabha, and media records each and every word spoken by all the members in the Lok Sabha. And through this recording, we come to know in the news channels. Everything what we get in the news channels, we come to know through the media, what they get recorded in the question hour. Okay, so this is how it acts as a mirror of public opinion. The deliberative function of the legislature serves as a basic process by which the executive comes to know about the demands of public opinion. So, this is how the demand of public opinion was to work on the jobless and homeless people of the weaker sections during the COVID-19 period. So, this was brought in the notice of the government, and now the media brought in our notice. Okay, this is the deliberative function of the legislature. The next function is custodian of the national finances. Now, again, I am going to discuss through an example. In the early 2000s, social activist Anna Hazare led Indian anti-corruption movement in Maharashtra state, which forced the state government to enact a revised Maharashtra Right to Information Act. This act was later considered as the base document for the Right to Information Act 2005, in short known as RTI, enacted by the Union government. Under it, any citizen of India may make an application under RTI by depositing the amount of rupees 10 only, and the applicant will get the information by post within 30 days. He can get the information from government departments like police department, passport office, electricity or water supply department. So you see, the legislature works as the custodian of national finances. Now, no doubt, nothing can be spent without the approval of the legislature. But if there is any doubt among the public that what this department is doing, which is government department, how they are spending the money, any one of us like you and me can make an application through RTI with just rupees 10, and we will get the information within 30 days, and by post the information will come to our house, like what amount this department is having and what amount this department has spent on this, like a specific expenditure is done on this cause, whatever we ask for it. So this is how the government explains. So what is earning, what is the expenditure, so every detail we can get through this RTI. So what is the role of the legislature here? Legislature exercises full control over the national finance. No money can be raised or spent by the executive without the consent and approval of the legislature. You know that nothing can be spent without a legislature approval. Every year the budget comes, or any money bill, anything where the money is involved is called money bill, is to be brought in the legislature, it is to be discussed in legislature, it is to be approved by legislature, then only the money can be spent. Without approval of legislature, no money can be spent from the government treasury. Okay, even expenditures charged on the consolidated fund of state cannot be made without the knowledge of the legislature. And you know, in legislature, it's not only ruling party, even the opposition party is also there. Each year, the executive has to prepare and get passed from the legislature the budget for the coming financial year. And in the budget, the executive has to place the account of the actual income and expenditure of the previous year and estimated income and expenditure for the new financial year. Yes, I have discussed this term financial year with you in the key terms. So I hope you are clear about this and you are clear about this topic also, custodian of national finances. The next is control over the executive. Now, the example of this is Prime Minister Attal Bihari Vajpayee lost the no confidence motion by a margin of one vote. That is, he got 269 votes, and on the other side, there were 270 votes in April 1999, and he resigned. Here, his full team was responsible collectively before the legislature. Due to the Prime Minister's resignation on passing of vote of no confidence, full team resigned and the Lok Sabha was dissolved and the fresh elections were held in India. Yes, students, here I would like to tell you which body is legislature here, which body is executive here. Here, legislature is Lok Sabha and executive is Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. Legislature here passed the vote of no confidence against the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. In legislature, the opposition party got 270 votes and Prime Minister Attal Bihari Vajpayee and his party got the 269 votes. Means just by one vote they were the losers and there were fresh elections. So this is how the legislature controls the executive. Now, I will explain it through the topic. The members of the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible before the legislature for their actions, decisions, and policies. The legislature has the power to remove the executive by passing vote of no confidence or by rejecting a policy proposed by the executive. In fact, in parliamentary form of government, the legislature exercises control over the executive by using certain methods like the right of the members of the parliament to put questions to the ministers which the ministers have to answer in written or oral form. The parliamentary executive works under the alert and active control of the legislature. Obviously, when the executive is asked question by the legislature here means opposition party because obviously his prime minister's team members will not ask him question in the legislature. Opposition party will ask him question in the legislature and the ruling party is to reply them. If they are unable to reply, naturally they vote of no confidence will be passed against them and the government will be dissolved. The executive always fears the checking and controlling powers of the legislature. The next function is constitutional function. Now, I will clear you through an example. According to the Indian Constitution, the President of India is elected by Electoral College, consisting of elected members of state legislature and union legislature, as I discussed with you in the beginning. As the public is not involved, so here the method of election is indirect election. If any change is to be done in electoral college or in the method of elections, then the constitution will be amended and it will be done by the parliament only with two-thirds majority. This is the constitutional function of the parliament. You know why it is constitutional function? Because the method of election of the president is written in the constitution. If any change is to be done in the method of electoral college or a method of a change in the election of president, it is amendment in the constitution. So it is constitutional function of the parliament, and obviously it needs two-third majority. The legislature of a state is vested with the power to amend the constitution. For this purpose, the legislature has to pass special laws called the amendments in accordance with the procedure laid down in the constitution. In some cases, it may need two-third majority, and in some cases it needs simple majority. You know what is simple majority? That's just 51%. And what is two-third majority? That is 66%. Okay. Next is electoral functions. As already I told you, electoral function means elections. Now, example is, supposing today there are elections for the members of parliament. A big election campaign goes on till day before yesterday evening, and there were rallies on roads and posters are still pasted on the walls. This system is called direct election system, and citizens are involved directly. Students, I think so. We can easily see all this on TV channels, and even in our own roads also we can see election campaigns. But in case of elections of the president and vice president of India, there is no election campaign because they are elected indirectly, where citizens are not involved directly. Like we are not involved directly. Our elected candidates who are members of state assembly and who are members of parliament, they elect them. Moreover, there is no election campaign and no posters are visible on the roads. Now, what is electoral function? Mostly each legislature performs some electoral functions. The two houses of Indian Parliament elect the vice president, and the elected members of both the houses form a part of electoral college which elect the president of India. The members of the Lok Sabha elect one of their members as a speaker and another one as a deputy speaker. Members of the Rajya Sabha elect one of their members as the deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha. So you see, all they are elected by the members of the parliament. Like president, vice president are elected by both the houses, then speaker by Lok Sabha, then deputy speaker by Lok Sabha, then deputy chairman by Rajya Sabha. So they come under the electoral functions. Next is judicial functions. Like an example is Sumatra Singh, former Calcutta High Court judge, was the first judge in independent India to be impeached. The process was passed successfully in Rajya Sabha, and before it reached in Lok Sabha, he resigned. You know, this judge resigned before it reached in Lok Sabha. Usually, the legislature is assigned the role to act as a court of impeachment, that is, the legislature acting as an investigating court and trying high public officials on charges of treason and high crimes. In India, each of the two houses of Union Parliament can prefer an impeachment charge for the impeachment of the President, judges of the Supreme Court, and of the High Courts on the ground of proved misbehavior or incapacity, and the resolution for such a removal must be passed by two-thirds majority in each house. So this is the judicial function of the parliament. Next is ventilation of grievances. Again, I will discuss through an example. Recently, the government has passed farm bills. I hope you all know about this, which farmers feel are against their land and farming interest. But the government has already made a deal with foreign countries about sale of their farming products through Indian companies. As India's democratic state, most of the farmers are protesting on roads around Delhi border. Students, here farmers are protesting on the roads. That's a separate thing. But here I'm talking about the legislature. How legislature acts as a ventilation of grievances. That example I'm going to discuss. Like this voice of their grievances was raised in both houses of parliament also when the bill was getting passed. Senior Shiromani Akali Dal leader Harsimrat Kaur Badal, who resigned from the Union cabinet soon after her husband and Shiromani Akali Dal president Sukhbir Singh Badal opposed farm bills in the Lok Sabha, claiming that these proposed legislations will destroy the agriculture sector in Punjab. He also announced that Harsimrat Kaur Badal would quit the government in protest against these three bills. So this is how there was ventilation of grievances against the farm bills in the Lok Sabha. Now let's see what happened in Rajya Sabha. In Rajya Sabha, Trinamool Congress MP Derek O'Brien attempted to tear the rule book and regarded it as the brutal murder of the parliamentary democratic system. So, in both houses, there was ventilation of grievances against the farm bills. So, this is also the function of legislature. And now I will explain it. What is done in the parliament? A legislature acts as the highest forum for ventilation of public grievances against the executive. It acts as the national forum to voice the opinions and grievances of the people. Parliamentary debates and discussions throw a floodlight over various issues of public importance. The legislature receives petitions of the people and passes these on with its own views to the executive. It ensures the implementation of promises held out by the executive. Now, next is miscellaneous functions. Now, the example is according to the Indian Constitution, the major legislative powers lie in the hands of the Lok Sabha, but the Rajya Sabha enjoys exceptional power of creating new All India services. This power lies in the hands of Rajya Sabha. After the enforcement of the Constitution, the Rajya Sabha created new All India services like the Indian Medical and Health Service and the Indian Forest Service. In India, the Union Public Service Commission works on selection and recruitment of all India services, but the power to create new All India services lies in the hands of the Rajya Sabha only. This cannot be created by Lok Sabha. It lies in the hands of Rajya Sabha only. Now, I will conclude today's topic. Now we can say that the legislative organ of the government plays an important, essential and active role in the exercise of the sovereign power of the state. It is the chief source of law. It is a mirror of national public opinion as well as the highest agency of political education. Students, this covers your pages from 186 to 192. Now, topic related questions are: what is a government? What are the three essential organs of a government? What is a legislature? Why is it regarded as the first organ of the government? Discuss the functions of a legislature. Lawmaking, control over finances, and checking the executive are the three main functions of the legislature. Discuss. How does the legislature act as a custodian of national purse? How does a legislature control the executive? So these are the topic related questions. Today, students, we have discussed these topics. These are government and its three organs. Its introduction I have discussed. Then I have discussed the legislature, its meaning. Then main functions and role of the legislature. Under this I have discussed 9 functions of the legislature. That is lawmaking functions, deliberative functions of the legislature, custodian of the national finances, control over the executive, constitutional functions, electoral functions, judicial functions, ventilations of grievances, and miscellaneous functions. I hope we are clear about today's topic, and you will revise the topic again and watch the video again. Okay, next time I will continue with the chapter. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.